Hey Hope Seeker, welcome to day 3 of Mastering Your Money. Today we're going to be talking about how to get you out of debt. My name's Amanda Winchester and I am tuning into you live from Sherwood Park, Alberta. I am your health and hope lifestyle coach, and today we are focusing on, or this week we're focusing on finances. So go ahead, and if you know of someone that could benefit from this particular series, I encourage you to invite them to the mini-series event page. And if they click going, or if you click going, if you haven't already, then you'll make sure that you get all of the, Facebook will make sure you get all of the notifications for the extra content, the live videos and whatnot. And there's going to be some extra bonuses for those of you who are joining us in the actual event. So I look forward to connecting with you guys further. If you know of anyone that would benefit from today's video of getting out of debt, please feel free to share the video. There's an invite button down in the bottom left hand corner. You can invite them to the broadcast, and in just a moment I'm just going to make sure that we are going live on my page because I see no one popping on just yet. Bear with me one moment, guys. Happy Wednesday. It is absolutely gorgeous here in Sherwood Park. I hope you're out enjoying it wherever you are. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hi in the comments as you're tuning in. Okay, I think we're good. It's showing up on my page, so we're good. So let's dive in. So first off, guys, sorry, just bear with me one moment. Oh my goodness, I'm doing outside and everything keeps blowing around. Okay, I think we're good. All right. So first of all, let's talk about the different types of debt. The different types of debt could be anything from your credit cards, it could be medical bills, loans, that could be personal loans. Hey Tracy, could be personal loans, it could be student loans, overdue bills, things that are collecting interest. Think of it like that. Mortgage payments. Hey Nikisha. Your automobile payments, payday loans, anything like that you've purchased on credit that you didn't want to pay cash up front. These are the types of debts that we're going to be talking about today, and overdraft interest on your bank charges. Those are types of charges that we're going to be trying to get you out of the debt and giving you some tools to work with today, can't speak this afternoon, in how to overcome that and start paying those debts off. So first I wanted to mention and kind of explain good debts versus bad debts. Good debts, think of it like this. Good debts are considered investments. Investments that are going to grow in value. They're going to produce long-term income. So examples of that would be things like student loans. When you take out a student loan, it's usually a low-interest loan, which is great, and it helps build your future. So you're investing in your future with a student loan by going to college or university, and over the long run, it's going to end up giving you, hopefully, giving you a solid career that's going to give you a long-term income. So that's one form of it. Another example of a good debt would be a mortgage. Mortgages are considered an asset because you're building equity, and it usually has also a low interest rate because you're paying off it's a bigger debt, but it's paying off in smaller chunks, and so you usually have a lower interest. And the bonus with a mortgage is that interest rates are actually deductible, which is really great. An example or a description of a bad debt would be something that loses value, something that has no long-term income, and it usually has a high interest rate. So examples of that would be like a payday loan. If you are like low on cash and you're waiting to get to the next payday, I hope and encourage you strongly not to use the payday loans. Not only is it just kind of a spiral thing that you kind of get sucked into, it's really, really hard usually to get out of that because each payday you're waiting for that next payday and you're anticipating that you're always stuck paying off the payday loan, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. But in addition to the cycle that you get sucked into, it has extremely high interest rates. So those are kind of like a no bueno, like don't do that. The other thing is when you are deferring your purchases. I know it's so tempting, guys, when you want that brand new 80-inch TV or whatever the case is, and you don't have the cash, and they're, the sales guy's like, but you on approved credit, you can get it today TV and take it home and hook that TV up, and you're gonna be, you know, the cool guy on the block. Well, the unfortunate part with that is that that too comes with high interest rates, and those are interest rates that you guys don't want. So yesterday we talked about savings and saving for those types of purchases, and it really can add up really quickly when you're putting away even like the 10% that we talked about yesterday, to save up so that you're not purchasing those purchases on approved credit. The benefit of that is, of course, you're not going to have the interest rate. So when you start thinking in the mindset of, do I have the money for this today? And is this something that I absolutely need? And if you can't say yes to those things, then don't purchase it. That's my personal advice for you as your money advisor. So that's one of the ones that's what we live by. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay, because it's really windy. So if you guys have any problems doing that, let me just move my phone 1 second. It's just kind of blocked with my computer. Yeah, is it worth it, Nikisha? Exactly. It's tempting. Trust me. My husband is one of those ones. He's like, ooh, but you know, it's got that whole curved screen. You know, we can get it home today. I'm like, no, let's just wait. We don't need it. We have a 54. It's good. So the next thing, guys, is how do you get rid of these debts? Okay, so some of the debts, as we talked about, they're debts that you can't help. You know, like the student loans or your automobile or your mortgage. These are debts that you absolutely, you know, in most cases, you absolutely need. You know, and they're part of your everyday life. So how do you get rid of them? Or if you did fall victim to the payday loan or getting that new TV, you know, how do you get rid of these debts? So one of the things that I wanted to mention is, whenever possible, pay more than the minimum payment. The benefit of this is two things. One, you're paying it off sooner because you're putting more money towards the debt. And the second thing is that it will overall reduce your interest rate because you are paying it off sooner. So those charges that are constantly accumulating over time will add up, but if you're paying it off faster, then those will be reduced. So you're going to be saving yourself money in the long run. So don't despair if you did get suckered into these types of, you know, purchases or loans. It is okay. You can get out from underneath of it. The next thing is, guys, is transferring your credit card balances. If you have credit cards with a higher interest, and then credit cards perhaps with a lower interest, ideally a zero interest, then you can talk to your creditors and you have the option to transfer the balances from the higher interest credit cards to the lower interest credit cards. Now, you do want to shop around for the best agreement and options for that, so make sure that you do check into that, do some research, make sure that the terms are something that you can agree to and feel comfortable with, and in the long run, make sure that it's not going to burn you down the road. Just gonna look at my notes here, guys, so that I don't forget anything. Next part of that is I want you to calculate your debt and compare, build a comparison plan. Now, how you do that is when you are choosing what to pay off. Maybe you're looking at your debts and you're like, okay, like I have like this and this and this, and it's all piling up. Like, what do I pay off, you know, sooner, you know, and how do I pay that off? One thing to mention is or keep in mind rather, is to pay off, hey baby, pay off your higher debts first. Now, some people believe that you should pay off your smaller debts first. If you feel more comfortable getting those payments out of the way and just check them off the list, then by all means do that. But my suggestion, hey Miriam, my suggestion to you is to pay off the higher debts first. Now, the reason for this is because it's a bigger balance, you're going to have more interest accumulating on that big balance. So by paying it off sooner, you are allowing yourself to save the long-term interest that you would be accumulating if you were kind of putting it in a dormant side and paying off the smaller debts first. I know it can be really satisfying to get those smaller debts paid off first, because it's kind of like you get that check mark. It's one less thing you need to worry about. If you are of that mindset, it is okay to pay off the smaller debts as long as you are aware and understand and are okay with the fact that you over the long term will create more interest by not paying off the bigger debt first and sooner. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing is, sorry, just let me make my notes here. Hey guys, say hi when you're tuning in. Hey Jonathan, just checking my notes here just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So the best solution, guys, when you're paying off your debts as well, is to ensure that you Well, ideally, okay, so we talked about putting the payments on your smaller amount or your bigger amount first versus your smaller amount and the benefits of that. But the best solution overall, if you can afford to and you feel comfortable doing so, the best solution is to, of course, make the same type of payment on all of your overall debts, so your credit card debts. Making a payment the same amount, the same time, it's just consecutive all the way across, and that way you're paying down your debts all at the same time. So that's the ideal method, of course, but it's not always obtainable for everybody, especially if you're on a very limited budget. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. So that's where calculating your debt and making this comparison plan for you and your home or your business is the best beneficial way to understand what you actually owe and what works for you based on what you have coming in and how you feel comfortable paying off that debt. The other thing is putting extra funds towards your debts. So think of this, if you've created a budget and you've overcompensated, say, for your groceries or things like that, and then as you are paying off all the different pieces, hey Simone, as you're paying off all the different pieces of your budget, and then it comes to the end of the month and you have extra money left over because you've overcompensated for something, it's really tempting to go out and say, like, okay, now's the time I'm going to go buy those new pair of shoes, or I'm going to go and treat myself to a dinner out, and maybe that's not something that you had budgeted for, or maybe you've already budgeted for it and you've already spent that, but you also had extra left over. That extra money at the end of the month, hey Simone, can really add up quickly by putting it on to, and benefit you more efficiently by putting it on those debts. So any money left over at the end of the month is really great to be putting onto your debts, and that can be any one of your choosing, but my advice, of course, is always to put it towards the ones with the highest interest rates first. Now, obviously, yesterday we talked about saving for that monthly nut, that basic amount that you have calculated. We talked about that on day one, calculating how much the minimum amount is for an emergency purpose for, say, to keep the roof over your head, food in your mouths, and the basic essentials for your life. And it's recommended that you save for a month and a half's worth minimum at all times in your savings account per person in your household, and that's even for children included. And this way here you are prepared for any type of emergencies that may happen, because life happens and it does happen. But that type of savings, I would rather you not tapping into taking from there to pay off your debts, unless you absolutely have no other money to put towards your debts. Then of course you do want to do that. But emergencies happen. Like, that's why they're emergencies, and there's something that we need to kind of plan for, because inevitably they're going to happen at some point, right? And so if we plan for those accordingly, then it allows us to have that stress-free and be able to still have money being put where it needs to go. The other thing is when you could take extra shifts at the end of the month, or throughout the month rather. Hey Jamie, I just see Facebook gave me a new feature, guys. Let me see if this works. No, that's not working. Okay, just one second. Pushing buttons. Where's my phone? Just one second, guys. Sorry. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Hey Sue. Pushing buttons and breaking things. So we're talking about extra ways to pay down your debt. So if you have no extra money maybe left over in your budget at the end of the month, but the other option would be to create extra income to put towards your debts to pay it off sooner. So you could take extra shifts at work. Maybe if you don't have a side hustle, you could add a side hustle, or if you have a side hustle, you could add an extra side hustle. There's different ways that you can create just a little bit of more income to start paying off that debt. Because again, the faster you start paying off the debts, the less you're going to pay overall, the more you're going to save, because you're going to be reducing that interest rate. And if you can pay more than the minimum, sorry, can't talk, tongue-tied, it will actually benefit you in the long run. Even though it may seem like things are tighter, when you're initially doing this type of practice, and it can be, really stringent, and, but don't think of it like that. Think of the fact that you're investing in long-term peace of mind, and also putting that money, getting that debt out, because you're creating freedom for you and your household or your business, whatever the case is, and by getting rid of those debts sooner. The other thing is you can think about reducing your monthly expenses. So one thing I mentioned yesterday that our family does is each summer, for instance, so that we have more money to travel with and do things with the family, we cut off things like the cable, anything that we're not using that's not a necessity, right? And now this is something that you could do long term. If it's like when you have a great amount of credit card debt or things like that, or you're paying off your car loan, student loan, whatever the case is, you could start reducing your expenses, your monthly regular expenses. Think of things that you don't need. So are you eating out more, you know, every month than you need to? Could you pack a lunch for work instead of going out to eat? Could you cut off your cable bill? For me, for instance, I noticed I wasn't really using my cell phone very much except for the internet. So then I started thinking, okay, well, I work primarily from home, so I really don't need to have a data plan. So then I cut that down. Then next thing I know, my contract was up. So when my contract on my cell phone was up, I decided to go pay as you go. And with that, I just allowed myself to have some extra text per month so I could still keep in touch with people. But primarily I'm just using it connected to Wi-Fi, and so that works for me. It reduced my monthly expenses by like $80 some. I think I was paying for my monthly plan when I was on a contract. And so these are things that you could look into. And if it's really beneficial, if you are like kind of stuck in a contract, you can contact the creditor as well and find out how much it would cost to purchase your way out of the contract. Sometimes that's actually a lesser amount, quite a bit by purchasing yourself out of the contract. What that does is it stops that monthly payment. So if you are all of a sudden kind of burdened down with debt, but you have a little bit of extra, a couple $100 or for instance, and you may be able to just purchase your way out of that agreement, and then you will reduce your monthly expenses and allow yourself over time to very quickly have more money to be paying off the long-term debts that have the high interest that you want to get rid of. So that brings us to consolidating your debts. So you may want to, if you have like multiple payments and, you know, multiple loans, multiple credit cards, things like that, maybe you can look into consolidating them. Now this, what it does is it lowers your interest rate because you're paying all of it under one kind of umbrella, so to speak. And the other thing it does is it lowers your monthly payment because now all of the debts are under one roof, and so you're not paying this one to Joe and this one to Mike, you know what I mean? It's like not all over the place, so you just have one payment under the one umbrella. And by doing that, it's sometimes so much easier, especially if you have so many different payments and various interest rates. The one thing that you want to keep in mind though is it may increase your overall debt, and the reason for that is because you're extending your payment plan. So if your payments were, or your loan for instance maybe was going to be paid off in a year, but now you've consolidated it with your credit card, which was maybe a 3-year debt, well now all of it is going to be under, you know, however much you decide to consolidate for. So when you go to seek a professional assistance with this, you usually contact a consolidation professional, and they will go over the different bills that you have, all the different debts you can consolidate, and then look at a certain type of different plans. There's different like 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, whatever it is that you guys decide on, and then they'll tell you how much per month you're going to be paying. So the upside is, like I said, it's lowering your interest rate and lowering your monthly payments. However, it is extending some of those payments overall because they're all being consolidated into one big bundle. And the other thing to think about with consolidating your debt is sometimes you do need a cosigner if you don't have really good credit right now. If that's an issue for you, then that's just something I wanted to give you guys something to think about as well. So those are my tips for you guys today in consolidating and getting that debt gone. I can tell you from a health perspective that, you know, getting not even just in control of your finances, but really getting rid of that debt and that stress can benefit your health overall, like your physical and mental and emotional health significantly. It affects your relationships, guys. It affects your ability and your quality of work and concentration. So even if you're working at home or outside of the home, it's affecting all these different things. So these are really important. Your finances are kind of like one of the basic hubs that you really want to focus on and make sure that you are healthy in. So I really hope that this mini-series is helpful to you. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from today's training in the comments. If you feel that someone else would benefit from this, like I said in the beginning, please make sure that you share the video or invite them to the mini-series event. And at the end on Sunday evening, each day is going to be a different topic, and at the end on Sunday we're going to be announcing an additional option for you guys if you want to dig in deeper and have more one-on-one help. There's going to be an option for that for you as well. However, if you guys are just enjoying the instructions throughout the week, that's great too. And I thank you so much for being here for me, or with me, not for me, for yourself. And we'll take care, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at, instead of 1 p.m., it's going to be Thursday, so we're going to be joining me here at 8 p.m. That's Mountain Standard Time, so that is 10 p.m. Eastern. So talk to you later, and have a great day, guys.